Destination Nightmare, the B-Movie Podcast. Today's movie is The Beast from the Haunted Cave.
The Beast from the Haunted Cave from what, 59 or something like that?
1959. I've seen this movie several times.
Have you really? I've seen it once.
I like it in part because of the cars and the clothing. Because it kind of it's like a time capsule for a time period in the late 50s, early 60s that I remember a bit as a kid. You know,
okay.
But it's a pretty good movie because it's sort of a crime.
It's a heist movie, kind of.
Yeah, kind of a crime movie, but also a monster movie. So
at the very end.
Yeah.
And it was cool at the end when the monster showed up. Not that it wasn't the world's greatest monsters, but it was good fun. Yeah, it took a while, as usual, with these.
Yeah, it wasn't
movies.
usual. It had what was his name? Michael Forrest.
Yeah, he did some Hercules movies or something. Atlas.
Yeah, and it was also on Star Trek.
That's right.
As Apollo, I think it was.
That's right. I remember it now.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Star Trek guy. I know some of the episodes, but I do remember seeing him as a Hercules. And I didn't notice, but the bad guy, the main bad guy, Frank Wolff or whatever his name was, he did spaghetti westerns. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember his face now from like some Leone movies or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, I remember him. And the director, Monte Hellman, went on to become kind of a hipster, indie filmmaker or whatever. He did that one movie which is actually pretty good called Two Lane Blacktop.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it, but I've heard of it.
We reviewed it on Slow Robot. It's an interesting movie with James Taylor and Dennis Wilson. The rock and roll guys playing the two existential. It's a good car movie, basically. And I did see another movie by him, which was really a real existential Western called The Shooting. It's really weird. It's got Jack Nicholson and who else was in it? Millie Perkins, and it's a weird Western, man. I was watching it one day. It was on one of these Roku channels, and I'm like, okay, it starts off okay, but then it just kind of gets bizarre.
Right.
So Hellman had a weird career. I think he did a movie that he got called, what was it called? Cockfighter or something like that. It was a Western. It wasn't like, something else, but, I think that was one of his big, art films or whatever. But he turned out to be more of an artsier director than some of the other ones did, you know what I mean? He didn't really make it big like Scorsese or Coppola or some of those other Corman guys or whatever, so.
Yeah. He did Silent Night, Deadly Night 3.
Okay. Is that a horror movie? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the one where it's like a slash movie.
Santa? Is that a Santa one?
Santa or the babysitter, like, the guy's still in the house kind of thing. One of those kind of movies.
Oh, yeah. One of those He Knows You're Alone movies or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. He was an uncredited director on The Terror.
A lot of people were. Nicholson, Coppola, a lot of people were. Corman.
He was second unit director on RoboCop. Oh.
I didn't know that.
And executive producer of Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Kind of a...
interesting career.
Yeah, interesting. Back and forth.
I read that he was offered, he only got paid Corman paid him $1,000 for this job. Wow. I read him. Okay, his wife, Hellman's wife, was an actress called Barbara Morris, who was in some Corman movie, and I guess she introduced him. Uh-huh. And Hellman was directing some theatrical, plays, and Corman was interested in it, and he invested a little bit of money in it, and it flopped. But Corman said, "Hey, I need a director. You want to try to do a movie?" And they gave him this one. Wow, cool. So that's how he got Beast from the Haunted Cave or whatever. Oh, he also did some work on Creature from the Haunted Sea. Yeah, that's another goofy one.
Yeah, it's a.
That's got that one actor. I can't think of his name right, but he was doing a Bogart imitation. It was a pretty good one too. Jerry Lacey, maybe? No, it wasn't Jerry Lacey. Can't remember his name, but he was doing a really good Bogart imitation on it.
Anthony Carbone, is that it?
That's it, Anthony Carbone. Yeah, that's it. He was also in The Terror.
Was he really? I didn't remember that.
He was in The Terror, yeah. So was Dick Miller, and a lot of people were in it.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Wow. Excellent.
Yeah, Michael Forrest Atlas was the peplum that he did, the Hercules movie that he did. He might have done other ones too. I don't know. He was kind of like dopey in this movie. Remember, for the majority of the movie, he was smoking a pipe. He wouldn't let go of that pipe or whatever. You know, what the hell was in that pipe anyway? You know.
Yeah.
He must have had some weed in there or something. Because man, he wouldn't let go of that.
I think that was supposed to imply that he was educated or intellectual, because that's usually, back then that was kind of the trope. You know, if you smoked a pipe, you were a deep thinker, and
you smoked a pipe and you wore one of those like smoking jackets with the patch on
leather
the elbow.
patches. Yeah.
Oh, God, good old, those were the days, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, but he just stands around a lot and smokes his pipe, and everybody else does their no good. He was the guide, right? He was the guide or something like that.
Yeah, he lived up in, this took place in the Black Hills of Dakota. And he was...
Where Rocky Raccoon lives?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. And,
isn't that the first line? I don't know, Black Hills with Rocky Raccoon, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So anyway, he's it starts off with, like, you see two guys secretly taking photographs of buildings and streets and stuff, and then get the credits, and then you sort of introduce he's the ski instructor, and he's helping some guy learn how to ski, and the guy's secretary girlfriend is there, and she's all smitten because, you know, Michael Forrest is all tall and muscular and
smokes a pipe.
And he's outdoorsy and stuff, and you know, they're talking about a cross country ski trip, so he's sort of getting them prepped to do a cross country ski trip for some reason. You know, they don't really say why. But then you find out, you know, she's sort of becoming infatuated with Michael Forrest.
And again, her boyfriend's getting pissed.
Yeah, he's all jealous, and then you sort of learn that they're planning a gold heist, because apparently there's an old gold mine nearby, and they're gonna rob I guess it's a bank or something, or something.
They wanted to start a explosion in the gold mine to distract the people while they go to rob a bank and take like 2 gold bars each or something.
Right, because they're doing what the plan is. They're gonna rob like I say, blow up the mine, rob the bank,
explode the mine, distract people, go to the bank, steal some gold, and then take off for Canada.
Yeah, and then well, they were going to meet a plane, so it's either they're gonna, if they can't meet the plane because of a snowstorm that's coming, then they're gonna cross country, I guess, up to Canada. And so that's why they have this Michael Forrest along, because he's their ski guide. So what he does is after well, it's at night and they're in a bar and the girl is dancing. And she's
dancing with Michael Forrest, but her boyfriend, you know, the leader, is pissed off about it.
Jealous, and then there's all, you know, back and forth between them, and
there's another bar lady called Natalie there.
Yeah, she's the barmaid, so she kind of sneaks off with one of the guy's henchmen, Marty, I think his name is. There's 2 henchmen. One guy's Marty. He's kind of like tough and serious, and then there's another guy who's kind of goofy and is always eating.
Yeah. He's wearing one of those like hats, like what's his face from the Bowery Boys, not Leo Gorski or whatever.
Yeah, Leo. What is it? They call them
Slick,
Slip Mahoney. Yeah, something
Slip
like
Slip Mahoney. That's it.
So anyway, So the barmaid sneaks off with Marty, and Marty's job is to plant a bomb in the cave to go off at 9 o'clock in the morning. So he takes the girl up there, and they're like kissing and making out and stuff. So then he says, "Oh, hold on a second." So he goes and plants the bomb, and then when he comes back, they're kissing again, and suddenly this monster comes, and it looks, I don't know, it's kind of like
a leg or something, with some paper mache or some.
Yeah, some gauze or whatever. Yeah, it's all weird, and you kind of see the shape of a head and a body. It's got stick arms with tentacles at the end, and it's covered in like gauze or whatever. So he sees it.
By the way, did you know that this? I didn't know this. We saw the original version. I guess in the 70s, Roger Corman commissioned Hellman to add 10 or 15 minutes of footage to this, Beast from the Haunted Cave, and a few other movies to turn these shorty movies into 80-minute features, so they could play on television as like a creature feature. There is a different another version of this with. I know they did it to the Wasp Woman too, where they went back and got some of the actors years later and they padded it out for TV.
Wow,
cool. That one I haven't seen on YouTube, but I'd like to see it.
Yeah. So
anyway.
So the monster attacks Natalie and kills her, and the guy runs off. He's all freaking out. He gets back to the bar, and the head guy, Frank Wolff, he's like yelling at the guy and slapping around, like, "Why'd you bring the girl there?" And he's like, "Oh, she's dead. She was killed by something." It's like, what? You know, you're crazy. You're seeing things.
Yeah, because the guy's all like frazzled.
Right. So then you find out that, you know, the next day, which is going to be Sunday, they're going to rob the bank. So, you know, they're waiting in the car for the. They were also going to meet.
Was he setting up fire explosives in the?
Yeah. Well, that's why he went to the gold mine originally with Natalie, so he could set the bomb. He was supposed to go there by himself, but he brought
her along. Yeah.
So anyway, the next day, he has Mark Forrest and the girl go to, start skiing and get ready and prep and stuff. And then while she's keeping Mark Forrest busy, they rob the explosion happens and accidentally kills a miner they're looking for Natalie. So the one guy, he goes in the cave, and while he's there, the bomb explodes and kills him. And then, while people are dealing with that the three bad guys they rob the bank. They only take 2 gold bars each because that's all they can carry.
Which is kind of silly. You think they would get bigger bags for it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And
then, maybe they didn't want it to look too much like it was totally raw. I don't know. I don't know what the mentality of it.
I don't know. It just worked. And so they go back and they meet up with Mark Forrest, and then they start doing the cross-country skiing. And they're skiing to his cabin that he lives alone with.
Well, he's got that one mate, right?
He's got an Indian...
Little Dove or something like that?
Yeah, Little Dove, Small Dove? Small Dove.
Small Dove,
And so they're skiing, and the one guy, Marty, who saw the monster, he keeps freaking out, and it turns out like the monster's following them. So they have to, they're halfway to the cabin.
The monster shows up in the shape of the girl, right? All like...
Well, I think the monster brought the girl with him.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay. I didn't know if that was an apparition or the real deal. Oh, okay.
So that...
And she's all like drained, which reminded me of a similar idea of the leeches, where like the monster kept them and it was draining them of their, of their life.
So they're halfway to his cabin, and there's a snowstorm coming, and they're going to meet the plane at his cabin if it can get past the snowstorm. So they camp outside, and during the night, Marty is keeping watch, and the monster, he hears the monster roaring, so he runs into the forest with a gun looking for it. And that's when he sees the girl. She's all wrapped up in some kind of webbing or something, and he sees her, and then the monster's there, and he starts shooting at the monster, and then he wakes everybody up in camp, and they're like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, nothing, and he, they say, well, everybody's like on edge and stuff. So then the next day, they end up at Mark Forrest's cabin. That's where we meet Small Dove, who scares the goofy guy.
Yeah. Well, she's kind of
she's kind of stern looking and stuff.
Yeah.
So then they're at night, and they're fine. And then they're at his place, and it's nighttime, and they're listening to the radio, and he hears of he wants the chief bad guy, Frank Wolff, like, I want to hear the weather and stuff, but he's actually listening for the news to find out about the bank robbery. So they hear it on the news, and then Mark Forrest is getting a little suspicious. So they're all sitting around playing cards and listening to the radio, and the girl Gypsy, that's her name. She wants to dance, so she first dances with one guy, then she dances with Mark Forrest and kisses him, and then the Frank Wolff gets all PO'd, and he pulls him aside and takes a swing at Mark Forrest, and then Mark Forrest beats him up, and then the two other guys, the two henchmen, try to fight him, so he punches and knocks out Marty, and then the other guy comes, and the goofy guy comes and pulls out a gun. So he's like, so they, in the Frank Wolff goes, yeah, I'm sorry, I just lost my head. So then,
the goofy guy, Marty Jones, Richard Sinatra. He was related to Frank Sinatra.
Get out of here, really?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the goofy guy. No, it's not the goofy guy. I think it's the more serious guy. His name is Richard Sinatra. He's related to Frank Sinatra.
No kidding. Wow.
Yep.
Wow, that's cool. So then he goes. The girl leaves. She was slapped. What first caused the fight is after she kissed him. Oh, and then he's smacking her around, and then so she leaves, and then Marty. The Frank Wolff goes, all right, is everybody cool, relaxed? So then Mark Forrest leaves and goes after the girl to make sure she's okay, and they have this talk. Typically, like, oh, you're Mr. Mountain Man, and you love this clean outdoor life, and I'm I'm too old for this, even though she's like younger than him.
She didn't look that young, but she was younger than him.
Yeah.
There was a scene where she was like talking to the, Michael Forrest, and she could see like she wasn't that young, but she was younger than him.
Yeah.
He did have makeup on to make him look older too.
So they're and that's when they're out. That's when you sort of overhear the Frank Wolff and his henchmen. They're talking about how they're going to have to kill Mark Forrest, and they're going to have to kill Small Dove too, and the goofy guy Sinatra is like, oh, I kind of like her, and he's like, well, too bad and stuff.
I don't know if Sinatra was a goofy guy. He was Marty. I don't know if that was a goofy guy.
Yeah, the other guy. What's
Byron? It was Wally. It was Byron or something like that.
Wally Campo. Yeah, Byron. That's it.
Yeah.
So. And then they hear a noise, or Marty hears a noise. So he goes outside looking for the beast and the monster, and he ends up finding a cave, and he thinks that's where the monster is. And so he comes back, and it's the next day, and then Michael Forrest is chopping wood, and the girl's talking to him, and she's saying, they're going to kill you. And he's like, yeah, I kind of figured, I guess. And she says, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, well, I'm going to send Small Dove back to her people, and then I'm going to walk back or ski back to town to tell them what's going on. So she goes, well, can I go with you? And he's like, sure, so they're going to meet. So he goes out. The next day, he goes out, and he's say he's going to go hunting for deer, so he goes out and earlier, and then the henchmen, Frank Wolff and his henchmen are talking, and the girl says, "Well, I'm going out for a walk." So they meet up. The girl and Michael Forrest meet up, and they start walking or skiing towards town. And meanwhile, at some point,
Little Dove got caught somewhere. I missed that part. She got caught by the monster at some point.
Yeah. I think before, after they had left, the goofy guy and Small Dove are out talking and so because he's starting
That's
to
right. And the monster's legs came out and grabbed him or whatever.
Yeah, monster attacked them and grabbed her and carried her off. So then they're back and it's getting close to night. So while the henchmen and Frank Wolff and Marty are talking, Byron goes out, sneaks off, and goes looking for Small Dove, and finds her in the cave, and he sees her, and she's all wrapped up in a cocoon too, and as is the girl Natalie. So this is a different cave. This was a cave that was halfway between the town and Mark Forrest's log cabin.
Cabin, yeah.
Right. So the guy goes in. He's trying to cut her loose, and then the monster attacks the goofy guy and wraps him.
And then he sees Natalie too, and the other.
Yeah, he sees Natalie. So Natalie's half dead, and she's still alive, but her mind.
She's still talking, and stuff.
And Small Dove is like, "Oh, save yourself, go away!" And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna cut you loose." And the monster grabs the goofy guy, wraps him up in a cocoon and webbing and stuff, and puts him by Small Dove. And in the meantime, Michael Forrest and the girl are sort of halfway to town. They realize the snowstorm's coming, so they're like, "Well, we have to go back." She's like, "Well, if we go back, the guys are gonna kill us and stuff." So, I know where there's a haunted cave. So we'll hide out there until the snowstorm passes. Meanwhile, the next day, the Frank Wolff and Marty, they go out looking for them because they're gonna try and kill them. It says, well, they probably can't go far because of the storm, so they probably stopped off at that cave. So they go. And they go out in search of Michael Forrest and the girl. So then there's a scene where you see the monster sucking the blood out of Natalie.
And you start seeing the monster a little more now.
Yeah. And it's
not just an arm or something.
See it clearly. And when I first saw this, it was on a crappy black and white television. So I thought it was kind of like a spider or something. But it's... it's like a monster. It's got a weird bulbous head and a thin neck and big giant body. And
the monster makeup was actually made by an actor called Chris Robinson, who later went on to do a lot of television and some theatrical. And he was given hardly any money to make it. So it's kind of one of those, like Corman said, "Hey, anybody want to make a monster?" Apparently, Paul Blaisdell, who did a lot of the monsters, said to Corman, I'm not gonna make it I can't do a monster for the money you're going to give me, because this movie was only made for $33,000.
Yeah, it wasn't made for much money, and you can kind of see it.
And it was made on a double feature with Ski Troop Attack, which was a war movie, and right. You can see the same idea of in the snow, soldiers, and
right,
all that stuff.
Right. So, the monster, in some ways, it was kind of cool because you really couldn't see it.
Yeah,
it's filmed in the dark.
It was weird.
Yeah, it was odd. It had its big bulbous body and this sort of weird kind of rounded head with a thin neck, and it's got these arms that ended in these tentacles, and it was covered in filmy gauze or
angel hair or paper mache or something. I don't know.
And it worked within the movie. Because you didn't really see it either. Sometimes that's the best. Way to have these things, you
saw it in shadows and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the monsters, sucking the blood out of Natalie, the goofy guy, and Small Dove, and then Michael Forrest comes in and he finds it and he starts shooting at it, and the girl comes and she's throwing rocks at it, and he's like, get away, get away. So she backs up towards the front of the cave, and that's where Frank Wolff and Marty capture her, and they go down looking for Michael Forrest, and then the monster's there, and then the monster kills Frank Wolff, and then he the tentacle like sort of swipes and like strangles Marty, but before Marty dies, he shoots it with the flare gun.
Yeah.
And, the monster like burns in flames, and then you see like Michael Forrest and the girl watching the monster die, and then the end.
I also read that they were thinking of making a sequel, so you could see what exactly happened with those other two, but of course it never happened. It says the TV version. 3 years later, after this movie was made, Corman asked Hellman to edit 4 pictures for television. They had been a little over 60 minutes and he needed them to be 80 minutes for sale to Allied Artists TV. He shot extra scenes for Beast from the Haunted Cave, Creature from the Haunted Sea, Last Woman on Earth, and Ski Troop Attack. And Hellman says, it was fun, I was autonomous, and Corman didn't care what I shot. The stock was different. I used whatever actors were still available. And I have seen Wasp Woman's padded scenes. I've seen that. They may even show it on YouTube. I had seen it on TNT. They shot some extra scenes with I think the beekeeper. The other ones I've never seen. But you know what? It's like they're really move well as 65 or 70-minute movies. Adding 15 minutes to them might be, make them ponderous. You know what I mean? I don't think they were made to be longer movies than this, but for television,
Yeah, well, television
for 2 hour slot in television.
Yeah, well, I know Creature Feature on WNEW Channel 5 in New York. It was usually an hour and a half.
That would have been perfect. These are perfect.
So yeah, and a lot of times they would pad it out with some extra commercials, or sometimes if they
some public service ads or something.
Yeah, or cartoons, like a Bugs Bunny or whatever, and some public service cartoon. Show or
so you saw this during the day then, I guess, right?
Yeah, I've seen it both day and night. I think the first time was on Creature Feature, which usually was shown, started about like 12 or 12:30 in Saturday afternoon.
And then you saw it maybe on like Fright Night or something like that?
Yeah, Fright Night, Creature Feature, or even sometimes they would sometimes play, like if they had nothing going on, like a Saturday night, they would play a monster movie late at night, just to fill space sometimes,
Nanette, the lady who worked at the bar, she was a Playboy Playmate.
Yeah.
July 1958. So there you go, guys. If you want to see her in the Raw, she looked pretty good. Yeah, she looked pretty cool when she was like all worn. The monster like had her in the woods, and she was all like, "Go away, get away," or whatever. She looked pretty creepy or whatever.
Yeah, that was good makeup. That really worked. Sometimes.
She died at age 36 of cancer. Oh no! Wow, that's pretty sad, man. Wow, she died in 67. Holy moly, that's sad. Anyway, yeah, Linnea Alstrand. She was American, but she looked like she had a Swedish name or whatever. But I had seen this before, and honestly, the first time I watched it before, I kind of got bored. Because the middle sections, when it's all like yap, 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 just kind of bores me. The beginning of it was cool. It's like all movies. The beginning is cool. The middle part is like when there's a lot of yap and nothing goes on. And the ending what's closer. You got to really work it to the end or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the beginning builds up the storyline, and then the ending. It always seems like it's the middle section of the movie. It just pads it, until you get to the part that you want to see. Yeah, but
well, it's usually you want to see the monster, and I can
and
remember
you
as a
never see
kid.
him much.
Yeah, as a kid being frustrated that I didn't see the monster too clearly, but that also makes it a better movie. It's like Alien. The first Alien movie, you really didn't see the alien creature too clearly, so you just saw it in like bits and pieces and stuff.
And the Alien movie had a similar premise where the alien had the people in a cocoon to suck the life out of them little by little
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, yeah. So that's anything parasitic, just something living inside you or keeping you alive and sucking your blood.
Yeah, Monte Hellman didn't do much. I mean, Beast from the Haunted Cave, and then in '64 he did Flight to Fury, which I think might have been and Backdoor to Hell, which might have been war movies. Then he did the two westerns, Right in the World one with I think Cameron Mitchell's in that, in The Shooting with Nicholson. Then Two Lane Blacktop in '71, Cockfighter in '74, China 9, Liberty 37. I remember that movie in '78, Iguana in '88, Saturday Night Deadly Night 3.
Yeah.
And then Trapped Ashes, I don't know, a segment of a movie, Road to Nowhere, and something called Viva l'Amour in 2013. So not a lot for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see. He did a prologue for Fistful of Dollars, which I did not know that ABC did that. Yeah, it says here he did the prologue for it, which I guess Fistful of Dollars was the first Leone, so it was probably a shorter movie, so they probably padded it with a. They did that with a Pit and the Pendulum, which I didn't know that. In the original version of Pit and the Pendulum, there's an intro sequence where Luana Anders talks about what happened, and then it cuts to the movie. So they added like 10 minutes just because it was 2 hour time slot, and it was only like an 80-minute movie or something. Yeah, the Terry they worked on with Coppola, Jack Hill, Jack Nicholson. Wow, that's with Boris Karloff too.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's see. Flight to Fury is that the one that was in the Philippines? Yeah. Those are the ones that he did in Backdoor to Hell. Those are the two movies that he did in the Philippines with Nicholson.
Yeah, jeez.
And some of the guys from that went on to do Eddie Romero, who went on to do the Blood Island movies.
Wow.
Wow. He did both of them. He did Backdoor to Hell and Flight to Fury. Yeah. Nicholson
You know that game was it six degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Oh yeah, we used to do that.
You could probably do a 6 degrees of Roger Corman too.
Oh yeah.
He is. I think he's touched everybody in Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, if you just link them through Boris Karloff, you can get everybody pretty much. I mean, you can get Bella, you can get what's that actress? I Want to Be Alone, the whatever her name.
Greta Garbo.
Greta Garbo. You can get Greta Garbo because they were in the Notchka. You can get Todd Browning, who was the director of Dracula, that leads you to, Lon Chaney Senior, Junior. Right. Yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Those guys worked with everybody. You can get you can get to them through Peter Lorre, which will take you to Bogart and Bacall and
jeez.
Yeah, Nicholson worked with everybody.
Yeah.
And through the 50s or whatever. Anybody that became anybody or whatever. De Niro.
Well, Roger Corman gave Ron Howard a job. I think was it White Line Fever or something like that?
It was one of those. I remember what was the one that I remember? I remember the ad for here it is. Ronnie Howard hits the clutch and says, "Eat my dust."
That was one Eat my dust. So
there might have been another one, but I remember "Eat my dust."
Yeah. So Yeah, Roger Corman probably is like this big locust of talent that spreads out like a giant spider web to touch everybody else.
Yeah,
Wow.
everybody that was starting out in the 50s, almost everybody, not the Brandos or anybody like that, but anybody that was young,
Yeah.
they probably did a Corman movie, along the way. When you think of Nicholson and Fonda and Bruce Dern and Dennis Hopper, all those guys did Corman movies. And at one point or another, all the directors and people probably we can't even think of. I'm trying to find somebody obscure, but yeah, Corman worked with all those people. And then, of course, by working with Basil Rathbone, you got the Sherlock Holmes connection there, Boris Karloff.
Right.
I didn't work with Bella, but the other guys did. And then
you got Hazel Court, who probably has a whole bunch of
British stuff.
British connections.
That's right. Hazel Court connects you to all like Cushing and Lee and all those guys or whatever. So no, it's insane what you can Corman, because everybody worked with him.
Yeah, everybody worked with him.
Because he didn't pay anything, but he gave you your start.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't make any money off his movies. He's the one who made the money, but he gave you your first break or whatever.
Yeah.
But apparently he was a taskmaster, because I read that when Hellman started making the movie, it was in South Dakota. It was freezing, and they couldn't get the cameras to work. And I guess Corman was calling up and seeing, hey, what did you film today? When they said, well, we couldn't get the cameras to work, apparently Corman got mad at Hellman and said, if you don't get any footage today, I'm going to come down there and shoot it myself, And I guess they did get it. They did get it done or whatever, So.
Wow.
Of course, these are the ones in the movies. This and the Wasp Woman were a double feature. They're the ones that have the great posters.
Yeah.
And I guess people were kind of disappointed in the movie, but it's not bad. It's not.
No, it's actually pretty good for what it is.
The acting was decent,
Yeah, the monster doesn't look like on the poster. It doesn't look like the monster in the movie, but it works. Yeah, it's a good movie. Yeah, like you said, with these kind of movies, they always they start good, they kind of slow down in the middle, and then they end good.
Yeah, they end with the monster.
Yeah, they end which is what you want.
Yeah, you got to wait. And then the other thing about these movies was when you saw the pictures, I don't know about this one, but some of the pictures, they looked really great in Famous Monsters. And when you see the movie, it's like, wow. It looked a lot better as a still picture than,
Well, probably
when it moves.
Better cameras and better lighting, the
shot for the still photography was great on some of these movies,
Yeah, but so filming them is.
But the thing about it is when they start to move, they look clunky, like They Conquered the World, or what was the other one? Who was the one that the she creature wasn't bad. I mean, she was kind of clunky, but it was like a kind of knockoff of it. It wasn't bad. But they kind of and that's why they didn't show them until the end of the movie. Because you didn't want to everybody to see how lame it probably was, but it is what it is.
I heard that originally the monster for It Conquered the World was only supposed to be seen in sort of like dark shadows in the cave.
Yeah.
And they wanted to show it, so that's kind of why it doesn't look as good as it does.
Yeah, plus it was small.
To a kid, I mean, you love that stuff.
Plus, it was small, and Beverly Garland said when she saw the monster, she laughed and she kicked it a couple times because it was it was not a big monster, but it was supposed to be big or whatever.
Yeah.
Those were remade too by Larry Buchanan in the '60s in color, and those are a whole different. Anyway, those are a whole. I forgot what the remake of that was, but it was. Zontar. I think that was Zontar.
Zontar.
It was a remake of It Conquered the World. Zontar, yeah. So there you go.
Zontar was really bad.
And the thing about it was those movies in the 80s, they were kind of hard to find because the TV stations either weren't showing them that much or they weren't on video yet. So they were being bootlegged a lot from people that may have recorded them. Because back then, different areas had different movies. Movie playing in Miami might not be playing in not West Palm Beach or the vice versa or whatever. So
yeah.
Sometimes they were hard to find.
There was a lot more in sort of independent movies, and they just wanted to fill their.
And if it was made in the '60s, it probably showed in the '70s, but you didn't have a VHS in the '70s. So by the '70s or by the '80s, when VHS became a big deal, they were doing a lot of '70s stuff, and the '60s stuff sometimes was either relegated to the late show or just the package wasn't around.
Yeah.
But again, if you were in Jacksonville, they may have had, Beast from the Haunted Cave. But I remember seeing Beast from the Haunted Cave in South Florida when I lived there. So that one was part of the, or it could have been public domain by then. And, they had a print laying around. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure all these movies are public domain. I mean, they sure were bandied around as public domain when video companies released them throughout the, from the 80s through, I don't know. I guess they still put it out now on Blu-ray or whatever, probably with extra scenes or whatever. But
scene footage or something. Yeah, it's I think when videos came out, I think it was in like the mid 200s or like DVDs rather.
DVDs.
I know. I think it was Borders and Barnes and Noble and stuff. There were these like 50 classic.
I got one of those. I bought them.
Yeah.
I bought one the other day. It was on Amazon for $8. It was like pure terror, and it has like 50 movies on it, And I'm like, well, this will be used for our shows, as Except the quality of them is like average, as opposed to like if you buy a Blu-ray, it'll be nice. You know what I mean?
So they had like kung fu movies, science fiction, thrillers, monsters, horror. They had a ton of them. And I had a couple, but various moves they get misplaced or.
Yeah, they're minor in stories, but I got that one pure terror because it was cheap, and it had like a lot of, good stuff on it. That if not used, it would be a reference for something. It's like, what are we going to watch? Let me look at this. Oh yeah, let's watch.
Yeah.
Whatever, Werewolf versus Vampire Woman, which we did already, and something along those lines. But yeah, fun stuff. So yeah, we've done a few Corman movies now.
Yeah.
They're the best part about them is that they're short.
Yeah. Yes.
70 minutes is a great time for a B movie, When you start getting into the 80s and the 90 minutes, you start getting padding, and but then again, the effects got better after a while, so,
Yeah, 70s. Sometimes there's a trade-off, but sometimes you like some of these movies, like if somebody's driving somewhere, you see the whole trip, and it's like, wow, geez.
European movies do that.
Oh man, it's really.
Their editing is leisurely paced, I think is what the word is. It's like if Dracula goes, yes, we're taking a trip in our hearse to the Carpathian Mountains. You see him getting in, and you see the whole trip coming up.
It's like, oh my god! So some of these movies, they should be cut down to like half-hour TV episodes.
It's true.
It'd be better like a Twilight Zone episode rather than.
They feel like Twilight Zones or Outer Limits or Thriller or whatever, but they have different people in them and stuff like that. But by the '60s, the movies got a little longer. The '70s, movies started getting longer. Now it's like movies are like 2.5 hours long or whatever, which I refuse to go see.
Yeah, too long. I mean, I don't have to see everything that was filmed.
No.
Some things need to be cut out and edited and stuff.
Well, the pacing. It needs to be paced so you don't get bored in the movie.
Yeah.
This one was a little boring, but all of a sudden it just picked up, and the end comes up, and yay, the monster finally, yay,
Yeah.
So
they probably could have cut out some of the trip, the skiing things, and sometimes even just cutting out like 10 minutes here and there. can really make the film a lot better.
And these movies were made for double features anyway, so they didn't, they were just 2 70-minute movies, and boom, you're home.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah.
That's kind of like what they do now, 2.5-hour movies. It's kind of like almost like a double feature or something, but it's only one movie. So I don't know.
It's like Lord of the Rings. I
won't go see that.
Especially the last one. It's like, oh my God, this is interminable.
I won't go see that.
There's like 7 or like 12 endings of like what's going on here. This is going on there. This guy's saying goodbye. This guy's coming home. It's like, just get to the end.
So anyway, Beast from the Haunted Cave. We both liked it.
Yeah, good movie.
We both saw it on some form of a creature feature. I didn't see it until the 80s, maybe. Yeah. I probably didn't see this movie because it used to be played late at night until I had a VHS that I could program to record it. Because I wasn't going to stay up till 2 in the morning to watch Beast from the Haunted Cave. So what I do is record them, and then, now I can watch it.
Yeah.
A lot of movies. I still have I have the tapes. Hopefully I converted them to DVD throughout the years of all these late night horror shows from the 80s, which probably was maybe the early 90s was probably the last time they were really on. I don't know when the Late Late Show ended, but it ended somewhere in the 90s. I mean, they still have some now. I don't know, but I remember like the hosts and those old UHF channels before they all got owned by the WB or the CW or whatever, and they all became the same.
Yeah.
They showed a lot of stuff, and then it just kind of ended. So, and there are drive-ins around the country, which they do show these prints of these movies. So there are like 35 millimeter prints of some of them floating around. Pennsylvania, in your neck of the woods. My friend goes to some drive-in there. I forgot where it is, but they show classic horror.
Yeah, that's up near what the hell, like Goresville or something like that. It's near a college. It's a big drive-in that's still up there. And
somewhere in where you live, there's a theater that once a year they play a 24-hour B-movie film festival, and they try to get as many 35 prints as they can. And it's just like sit in the theater for as long as you can and watch movies. And they don't tell you what movies they are. They give you from what I understand, they give you a booklet, and the booklet describes the movie, but it won't tell you what it is.
Cool.
Until you watch it, and then it is whatever it is. So.
That's cool, man. Yeah.
That shit's still floating around.
Yeah.
So, but it'd be nice if we could get our drive in here to show it. But from what I understand, when he did those movies, those old movies that they played here in during COVID, they didn't do well. So, and he said, and the guy was complaining that the distributors want a lot of money for some of these 35 prints, and I don't know. My friend said he told them, "Hey, I can give you public domain DVDs of them to show if you want, but I guess it's not. I guess they don't get enough people. It's not a hip place here or whatever.
Yeah.
PA probably has more, fans for it or whatever.
Well, everybody's streaming now, so you can, and a lot of these are available on like Tubi and.
Yeah, so this is available on Tubi. Beast from the Haunted Cave is available on Tubi.
Yeah.
So I watched it on YouTube. The print was nice enough. So.
Yeah. The one I watched, also on YouTube. The only problem was it had a commercial like every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Well, hell, I was watching. What was I watching yesterday? The Dirty Dozen. It was on Movies, which is one of those over-the-air channels.
Yeah.
Oh my God! It was like during the finale. It's like they had like 3 commercial breaks. And I'm like, geez, can you put more movies in?
Yeah.
And one of the weirdest things of it was that the movie's on Movies channel, and all of a sudden they cut to commercial, and the first commercial's in Spanish, and I'm like, huh? It was in Spanish language, and then it cuts to the English language once, and I went, well, that's interesting. I mean, I obviously I understood what they were talking about, but it's kind of weird that they just kind of broadside you there with like, where's the subtitles? Where's the,
Yeah.
But anyway.
That's like commercial radio too.
They do Spanish commercials on.
Sometimes, but also it's like every, 2 or 3 songs, suddenly there's a commercial. It's like, Wait a minute, man. I mean, I can remember you'd have these nice long blocks of music, and now it's like, and the commercial breaks are long too. So it's like,
I haven't listened to a normal radio station in at least 5 years. No, it wasn't 3 years maybe when I had a car.
Yeah.
I don't listen to it anymore.
Yeah, everything I do is streaming. So I listen to radio.
I don't even stream.
Podcasts I listen to.
I listen if it's on YouTube. I listen to it. I don't stream it. I don't. We're on Spotify. I have listened to this podcast on Spotify though, but usually it's and BitChute. BitChute is the one that I mostly use. But Spotify will show the video version of this, so that's kind of cool because Alan, friend of ours, he had it on his phone. I go, well, they don't show. Spotify doesn't show the video version, do they? He goes, yeah, they do. And he clicked on it. And there was the slideshow too, so you can see it on there also. So, hey, whatever, That's cool, it is what it is. So I asked Alan to see if he wanted to be on the show, but I don't know if he can because he's got family, But if he ever does, if he ever wants to be on the show, he's welcome on to it.
Exactly.
So, the more the merrier. So.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, we'll be back in a couple weeks with another great movie of some sort, some kind. I'm gonna look for a really crappy one.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna go down to the bottom of the barrel for the next one. I think
that's half the fun, man.
We'll see what happens. I hope it doesn't hurt too much. I'll see if I can make it a short, crappy movie. Oh boy. Anyway, we'll be back in a couple weeks, and Roddy, what do you got to say?
All right, everybody. We want you to watch more